I think that we should probably start with a disclaimer of we just jumped on Zoom to record this, and you told me that you go down rabbit holes, I go down rabbit holes,
Yep.
and we've done 36 seconds of prep.
Yep.
So let's see how we go for the listeners. Let's work out what we're talking about.
Sounds good.
Let's see if we can follow through with that topic. How's that sound?
Sounds good. Sounds
So
good.
let's start with who the hell's Julie Cross? Because I've actually a bit sweaty. I've got clammy palms because it's a bit like I've got bloody Beyonce in the room. Like, who am
Oh,
I to have
stop.
Julie Cross on me bloody podcast? Who am I?
Ah, listen to you. Who do you think you are? No. Well, that's funny. The title of my book, Who Does She Think She Is? Because yeah, who is Julie Cross? So, well, Julie Cross is just a kid from the bush that had a dream, really. And she had a dream one day to be on a stage. She didn't know what stage it'd be. And first of all, it was the hairdressing stage. And of course, we have that in common with that industry. And so it was the hairdressing stage initially. And I loved that stage. I loved hairdressing. I went on to be a manager, an area manager, and I discovered the absolute joy in leading people and bringing the best out of them. I
Mm.
discovered what I was really bad at in leading people, but what I had to learn and how I grew, and then consequently how the people grew around me and how wonderful that was. What a gift it is to be able to lead people and influence them in some way positively and watch them grow. And then that would lead me then to sales, being a sales rep, and then a technician where I was on stage teaching hairdressers. And then from there, I discovered this passion that I had from being on stage. Well, actually, it probably reinvented that passion of knowing that I wanted to do something like that. But it lit a fire in my belly, and yes, and I love that. And then I got married, had a baby, and when he was 6 months old, I bought a whiteboard, ran some hairdressers, and started a business because that's how we roll with a 6 month old. That's kind of what we do, ladies, isn't it? And so
So
began my career.
whiteboard markers and one of those annoying collapsible
Yes,
whiteboards.
it
Yeah,
was that, exactly that, Jay.
yeah.
And I'd have three people in my audience and I acted like I was Oprah on a stage of millions, because you take the stage you've got. And so would begin the incredible lessons of life, I guess, that I now share from the stage as a professional speaker, which I've now been, that was nearly 30 years ago that I started that business.
Yeah.
Um, and one audience at a time. And that's that great analogy for whatever we do and however we choose to serve the world from. You take the stage you have got. And if that's hairdressing, you take that. If that is in the beauty industry, you take that stage. If it is doing eyebrows, then you take that stage. If it's serving coffee, then you take that stage and you bring the best of yourself to that stage every day. And then life will wrap itself around you and lift you to success. And I'm living proof of that. So, I haven't finished high school. I feel like I've got to hop on stage and do this disclaimer at the beginning, especially I've just spoken to all these principals at schools, and I walk
Oh.
up like, my name's Julie Cross and I haven't finished high school. So I'm living proof that with a dream and belief and bringing the best of yourself to the stage, that dreams come true, great things happen.
Absolutely. It made me remember my boss when I did my hairdressing apprenticeship. She would really hate the your clients here. Oh, that's Mary's client. Like,
Oh,
it's our client. We all look after the client, and no one owns the client. And I remember one thing that it just really landed with me. It was probably the only thing that landed in my entire apprenticeship.
yeah,
Which was when you shampoo that client's hair, that's your shampoo client.
absolutely.
When you do a treatment, it's not I'm doing a treatment and a head massage on Mary's client. No, that's your
Yeah,
client. Yeah.
absolutely.
And
And
that
that's that
really,
ownership, isn't it? That high ownership, really owning that, that this is your space right now. This is your stage and you are about to perform, and Mary is in your audience right now. So, what's your performance going to be like? That is, yeah, so true. So, and really that's that great analogy too. And another thing that I love to talk about is that you're never working on your job, you're working on your life. So you've just been given a stage and a job to go to work on your life. And so we should never hold back on that. We should never resist giving the best of that. We should always bring the best of ourselves to that, because in fact, you're making the room, the house that you're going to live in. And this is your life you're working on. And I think that, when I learned that from a young age and read that, I really lived that philosophy. And again, that's how we make sure that our performance is high, that we get the rewards that we deserve. So it's not about working for somebody else. It's
Yeah.
about working for ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. And how you show up and you bring yourself to everything. And
Yeah,
I think apparently that's what we're meant to be talking about today, showing up, how we show up and how we
really.
continue to show up when shit hits the fan. Because I think
Absolutely.
the fan in 2025 was a very big fan and it was spinning very fast and there was lots of shit hitting it.
That's
It was
right.
like
Yeah.
dump trucks worth of shit hitting that fan.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's hard. And I
It's
think
sometimes hard. You're right.
yeah, and I know that yesterday we had our planning event with all of our coaching clients in Melbourne, and of course, putting your plan together, all of your steps and your targets and your goals and your actions, and oh, I'll use that spreadsheet for that. But that means nothing if you don't show up and you deliver that with passion to your
That's
team.
right.
You know?
Absolutely. And I think that with showing up again, it's first of all, I think we show up physically, and we get that one. We get that. Showing up physically. You turn up before time, on time, you turn up, looking professional, you turn up physically, ready
Mm,
to go. But I think that what we underestimate is how we turn up energetically
yeah.
and how we show up with our energy, because it's one thing to physically show up, but it's a whole other thing of how you energetically show up. And what we underestimate is the way that life listens and notices how we show up energetically. So what I mean by that is to first of all normalize 2025. So we will all have a tough year sometimes.
Yeah.
This is called living. And
Mm,
I want to normalize this, because I feel like sometimes, we get shocked when things are going wrong. Or I had a girlfriend say to me, at the end of last year, I can't believe what a terrible year I have had.
yeah.
I'm like, well, what do you think? You should be the only one to miss out? We're all going to have a terrible year sometimes. Welcome to living. We are going to have some challenges, and we're going to have things that go wrong. And so I would say that if that was your experience of 2025, you're right on track. You're
Yeah.
right on track to live a wonderful life, because it's in those challenges. And as you said, it's how you show up within that,
Mm,
and how you get back up, as to whether or not you get the gifts out of all of that, whether
mm,
you understand that you've grown some emotional muscles and they've
mm,
got stronger because you're getting back up through it, and you're growing your muscles of courage and resilience and agency. And it's that creates this foundation of what success is launched from. And who you become then takes you to that next beautiful view, that next success that you've got coming. And life was just getting you ready for it. So it's again energetically around how we show up. So there's a story that I often tell about. I was at the airport and I wanted a bottle of water, and the ATM
I
was
love this
broken.
story. I
Oh, do
love
you?
it. It's
You
one of
heard
my
me.
favorites.
And the ATM said, "You're welcome." The ATM was broken, and so I didn't have any cash. So I go up to the juice bar. Now, the juice bar is open on time. The girl looks lovely behind the counter. The fruit and vegetables all look beautiful. They're all in their right spot. So physically, she's showing up for work and she's doing a great job. So I walk up and go, can I have a bottle of water, please? She gives me the water and says, that'll be $5.50 because you're at the airport. And I'm like, oh, well, I handed my credit card because, I don't have any cash. And she's like, oh, no. She said, no, 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 I can't take credit card for anything under $10. And I said, well, that's unusual, especially these days, especially at the airport. The ATM's not working. I've got no cash. She's like, oh, well, I'd do it for you, but the boss is a narcissist. And I'm like, what? And then she's like, oh, yeah. She says, if she sees it, she'll check through the receipt. And if she sees it, she'll make me pay for it. And now I'm thinking, oh, Julie, how thirsty are you? Do you really want the water? But then she goes, oh, and you know what else? I'm like, what? She said, well, I've got kids and I'll like school holidays off, but she won't let us. And then she's like, and do you know what else? She said, one of those, the other day I broke one of those cookie jars and she tried to make me pay for it. Now I'm like moonwalking out of there thinking, thirsty at all. But you see, the point is that even though she physically showed up to work, energetically, what she is communicating to the world and to her customers is that I don't really like my job and I've got no respect for my boss.
Mm.
Now, I am betting that within a couple of weeks, she was probably fired from that job for something. And she would, probably say, well, I told you the boss was a narcissist, not
Yeah.
my fault. But
Mm.
you see, life listens to how you energetically show up, not just physically show up. So life said, look, I hear you don't like your job. You haven't had the courage to leave to find something you like. So let me give you a hand, get it. And now somebody else can have this job that likes it and you can find something else you like. And to be fair too, that boss is probably the sort of person that is always saying, oh, these young people these days have always got an attitude problem. You can't get any good stuff. And then, when she hires, that's who turns up. And so, I think that, yeah, first of all, defining showing up
Mm.
isn't just physically turning up. It is energetically turning up.
Mm.
What's the passion like that you bring into the stage? What's the enthusiasm like? How have you reframed those negative situations so that they've lifted your energy so that when you go onto your stage today or this year, that you're going to make sure you take the best of yourself to that stage? Because it doesn't serve us not to.
Yeah.
And I think that's the big point too. It
Mm.
doesn't serve us not to, never mind your boss or your customers. How does it serve you not to bring the best of yourself to the stage? You
Absolutely.
know, so you wouldn't be inviting me on your podcast if I regularly showed up with tired and
Yeah.
negative
Yeah. Yeah.
stage.
Absolutely.
That would not lift me to success.
No, that's right. Exactly. Yeah.
Mm.
I like that. I don't know where I got it from, but it was like the analogy of those old fashions. It was probably in the early 90s. We had these blow up punching bag things. It was like
Yes.
cartoon character. It was weighted on the bottom and you
Yeah,
punch
and
it
they
and it
kept
goes
popping back up.
boing. And
That's
it does. It
right.
always pops back up. And I
That's
use that analogy from time to time.
yeah.
Is that like how long do you want to stay down?
Yeah, that's
And
right. Yeah,
it's
and it doesn't mean that you're not allowed to be sad, and I want to normalize that too. It doesn't mean that you're wrong if you're sad. It doesn't mean you're, wrong if you're feeling a bit low and your energy is low. You allow yourself that because sometimes things hurt and sometimes they're sad. So I think we've got to normalize that again. I have people come up to me and say, when I tell, one of my stories, it's a very feeling journey. And some people get quite emotional and they say, I'm so sorry. I let my emotions get the better of me. Oh, no, you don't need to apologize for that. We need more people letting their emotions get the better of them. If you don't do your emotions, they will do you. And this is called feeling life. This is called living. You do not know happy unless you know sad.
yes.
So you need to know sad to know what happy feels like. And that's what we talk about perspective, getting perspective on life. So I just think that, yeah, that we need to normalize too the emotive journey of getting knocked down and that it does hurt, but you're not doing anything wrong and life's not out to get you. And even when we shift our thinking, we're immediately feeling like we've got the power to get back up through that. We're immediately feeling more courageous and more resilient when we know that life's not attacking us, that it's not like we're wrong or that some karmic thing's happening to us. No, life's just preparing us for something new. We are, and we forget that our emotional muscles are like our physical muscles. If we sat in a chair for a year and never tried to walk, we wouldn't be able to walk anymore. Our muscles would waste away. We all know, we've seen people have a plaster cast on their arm, how quickly our arm loses and it's muscle and strength.
Mm.
But what we forget is our emotional muscles are the same. So if you want to be a success in business, then you have to be resilient, you have to be courageous, you have to be strong. And you don't get those emotional muscles unless you do something that practices resilience.
Mm.
You don't get to get strong arms unless you lift the weights that make arms strong. You don't get to have strong emotional muscles unless you lift the weights.
Mm.
And so you reframe some of these experiences and go, clearly, life's getting me ready for something big. At the moment, I'm in a really challenging place. It's taking a lot of effort to get back up, but I can feel my muscles of courage and resilience getting stronger. I've had to practice the muscle of gratitude and remind myself of everything that I've done to get here. I've had to practice my nurturing my sense of agency and saying, I have got this. I have been through bigger things than this. I have climbed big hills already, and I've got this again. So that's kind of what it's about because, yeah, I just, we don't learn anything new and achieve anything great when everything is just on this flatlining kind of, no ups and downs
Mm.
vibe and energy level. We don't really learn in those times.
I had feedback from one of my first bosses, that same boss that I referenced before.
Yeah.
Hello, if you're watching. The poor rocking in the corner because she's
Yeah.
worked with me for 6 years. But now, where was I going with that, do you think?
You referenced the psychology
What
school.
lesson did she tell? Oh, that's right. She would say, "You're a drama queen. You like drama. You attract drama. You cause drama." And I did because I get so bored. If the day
Yeah.
was monotonous, I'm thinking, how can
Yes.
I kick up
How can I make
something?
something so
You
we're
know, how
feeling
can I
that?
feel
Yeah.
something? I'll smack someone or I'll call
Oh,
someone a
that,
mole.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
look, I've learned from that, Julie. This is a counseling session. I've learned from that and I've been able to channel that into good
Yeah. Of
because
course.
that's not a healthy pattern to
No,
continue
that's right.
into your late teens, 20s, and whatever. But I think the one thing that I've learned about myself, and probably more so the last 10 years, is that when I get knocked down, I do bounce back quite quickly. And the bigger the thing that knocks me down, the more of a challenge I think, oh, good. Like, oh, there's something really hard.
Yeah.
Let me at it. I'm really good
Yeah.
at the hard stuff.
Yes. Yeah.
It's almost like, all right, pretend you're not excited with this
Yeah.
big thing that's happened, but
Yeah. That's right.
you'll be able to swoop in, you
Yeah,
know?
and that's that reframing that you're doing. You're reframing a situation in your head of how you see it and how you feel it. And we're allowed to do that. And
Mm,
I think we forget that sometimes. And we forget that we've got the ability to do that, that you
mm,
can reframe the challenge. And also, I think that always exercising those, that getting out of your comfort zone, and when we talk about being resilient and bouncing back, I think that we underestimate all the little things we can do every day to keep working out our muscles of courage and resilience. And so even taking a place in a front row, this is something I talk about all the time too. As adults, we arrived into this world with such natural resilience and bounce back and fearlessness. We lived with courage, as 2 years old, you say 2-year-olds are fearless because they're not concerned. They haven't learnt yet to worry about things that we worry about, which really, we shouldn't be worrying about. And when we do, it erodes our resilience and our courage, like taking a place in a front row. So that, that you learn then that every time you feel that little bit of resistance that I don't want to be in the front row and I don't want to be in the spotlight, you push through it, you take your place in a front row, you've given your muscle a resilience, you felt alive. It felt scary, but that's aliveness, and so we reframe that feeling again. So people are feeling that feeling and then stepping away from it. Oh no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be, no, this is good. This is aliveness. This means you're challenging your comfort zone. You're giving your muscles a workout. Take that front row seat, get on that dance floor and be the first one on that dance floor before you're drunk.
yeah,
And again, feel that feeling where it feels a bit scary, but you feel alive.
yeah.
And I think that because we can't, we've become a society that loves to measure everything. So we love a spreadsheet. And of course, we've got to set goals. And I'm not taking away from goal setting and having KPIs. You need to know where your goalposts are so you can score a goal. We need to measure it. But that's not the only thing. Just because we can't measure everything and we can't, measure those reps and we can't measure the weights, it doesn't make it not valuable. So all of that internal work, every time you do something that stretches your comfort zone, we can't quantify it or qualify it or put it on a spreadsheet or line it up because it's an inside thing. It's in here. But we don't always place value on it because of that, and I think that we've really got to stop doing that and really be mindful of understanding that not everything is measurable like that, but you will feel it in here. You feel it in here every time you get out of your comfort zone. You know, and I was reflecting on this the other day with the job that I do. I never go to the same office. I don't drive the same way to work. I never am talking to the same people. I am never in the same, place. I'm going to a new place every day. I'm sometimes flying, I'm sometimes driving. So I am constantly, every day, just as a part of my life, out of my comfort zone.
Mm,
And think that I really, real thought about that and thought have underestimated the value of that in creating who I am today with the courage and the confidence that I live my life with. And that's where it comes from.
mm,
Every time we're challenging ourselves. So even if we are going to the same place to work, drive a different way to work sometimes.
mm.
Say something different to your clients today. Open with a different question. Do something different as part of your service process. Maybe you write them a handwritten note, or maybe you include an affirmation, or just doing something different every day that makes you feel
Yeah.
a little bit challenged, a little bit like excited but
Mm,
scared.
mm,
You're growing those muscles of resilience and really feeling life. And next thing you'll be doing something that you'll think, oh my gosh, I can't believe I just walked up and did that, or I can't believe that I'm achieving this now, or I can't believe this now feels comfortable. You've created this bigger comfort zone in your life, and that's called growth.
mm,
And that's called success, and
mm.
that's called living.
I think listening to you just now, is this a podcast or is it Joe's counselling session? Because I'm having epiphanies here. Like, you need to invoice me for services rendered. Do you prescribe? And I think
Win for us
like
both.
a few a few dots have been connected, and the driving, a different way to work, and like how that just creates just that little bit of micro resistance in your day, and like thinking about I've had my car for about 4 years now, and the car that I had before this one was a shitbox, and it was a
Mm.
manual. And I thought, well, I'll get a nice car with all the bells and whistles. Now, this car, it unlocks itself when you walk towards it. You don't
Oh,
even
yeah.
need to carry the 14 grams of the key. And I shit you not, you put your seatbelt on and the seatbelt pushes into you. It tensions itself because you wouldn't want to pull on your seatbelt to make it
Uh,
tight. Like, you don't need to look where you're going because
no,
it will tell you that you're too close to the wall, love. I'll give you a beep. And like,
try.
it even keeps me in the lane on the highway,
Yeah. Yeah.
and my partner, Jeremy, if he has the path of least resistance, he'll go, no, I'll do it the hard way because it's cooler.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
cool to do
Yeah.
hard things. And he's got an old car and it's manual and it's this and that.
Yeah.
And I choose not to drive it. It's too hard.
Yeah.
It doesn't do everything for me. I'm going to drive the bloody thing today, I promise.
Yeah.
Strengthen that
Yeah.
muscle, that
That's
resilience,
right. Yeah, and I think that, and so after I've sort of been on the road for a while and working and having all of this, and I've also, as you know, bought a camper van. So I
Yes.
go, off in my camper van now. And again, a new place every time, a different experience on my own. You never know who's going to be around you. So always something different. So after all of that, of course, your nervous system, you're heightened all the time. So that's why we sometimes then crave a routine after holidays. We've done something different, we challenge ourselves, then we're kind of, I'm looking forward to getting back to routine. And there's nothing wrong with that either. That's like having your rest in between the workouts. They say that you have a rest day when you do your physical workouts, and that actually your muscle grows in that time. And so, yeah, you just mix it up. But I think that it's too easy, because we do have a wonderful kind of life in Australia, and we're not really having to be pushing out of our comfort zones too often. And I think we're mostly set up pretty good with some challenges, little challenges along the way. So I think that it is up to us sometimes to just keep those emotional muscles strong, so that when we do have a year that really challenges us, that we've got some base strength
Yeah,
to look from. So
absolutely.
not underestimating, yes, all those little moments that you do that will work out those muscles. I think it's really valuable. And as I said, just because we can't measure it physically and you can't sort of write it up on your gym card of your number of reps, doesn't make it that it's not valuable and for us emotionally and mentally. And,
But it would have to play a role, though, like with all of our conveniences that we have, like that constant improvement of everything taking less effort. Like
right.
my toilet seat closes softly because
Yeah.
God forbid it
Yeah.
didn't. And
That's
like,
right. Right.
it's things, it's all of that stuff, isn't it?
Right. And Jay, when I first moved to Melbourne, I got a job with Goldwell as a educator sales rep. Now, we didn't have maps back then, and I hate to be,
Oh,
this old person that's talking about back in my day, but no maps, nothing on no mobile phones with maps on, or so you'd have to sit with your Melways, your map
oh,
book.
yeah.
And I would know that I'd had to be at a salon for training the next morning at 7:30. And then I would sit there with my post-it notes going through the Melways, working out. Now I didn't know Melbourne at all. So
Mm,
you don't know what lane you've got to be in. You don't know when you've got to turn left. You've got to pull over on the side. So I knew I had to drive through 20 pages. You don't know how long it's going to take you because the maps don't tell you what the traffic's like. So, I'd arrive, I'd leave home at 4 o'clock in the morning because I would never be late. You'd have to pull on the side of the highway just to get to the next
yeah.
page, book up around and round, trying to work
Yeah.
out which lane you've got to be in and where you've got to get off next. So and I love having maps and not having to do
Yeah.
that. You know what? Again, I think we underestimate doing that and what it gave me
Yeah.
and how it helped that foundation of success and resilience and to have the business that I have today.
Yeah.
And it's all those moments, I think, even whether it's bringing up children or managing your team, I think that we can't underestimate what that does for us inside. And we're not talking about that enough. We're talking about, money in the bank and measurable things like that and what title we've got and, but we're not always talking about what are we doing and what are we putting in people. It's not what we leave for them, it's what we leave in them, and it's those experiences. And even though they feel hard at the time and it's frustrating and it's annoying,
Mm.
but that's all that stuff that again is nurturing us emotionally, whether we know it or not. Yeah.
I employed, it was one of the first hairdressers that I ever employed when I bought my business. And at that point, we were probably a bit stagnant. And it was like I employed this team member, her name's Stevie. And it's like I picked her up and I dropped her in the middle of the salon, and slowly and surely, like her light over the course of a couple of weeks just filled the space. And it was incredible because like how the team were blow drying their clients' hair was different, had more
Yeah.
volume. They were using the round brushes again instead of
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
blasting it and whipping the muster through back in
Yeah.
those
Yeah. Yeah.
days. They were a bastard of a thing. They'd rip half the hair out. Their hair, their makeup, their clothes, like they'd buy new jewelry because she would show up beautifully, physically, like how she would show up physically, but mentally, emotionally, for her clients. And it just lifted everything in the salon in so many different areas. And she was one of a whole team. There was probably seven or eight. And her energy was just
Yeah.
so bright and strong that just
Yeah, and
elevated.
that's the ripple of presence, and showing up like that. That's that ripple of energy and that vibe, and that's exactly what it does. It creates a ripple. When you elevate the energy of others, you also elevate your own energy, but you elevate that person's energy, and then those clients walk out of that salon with elevated energy. They then go on to elevate the energy of others that they connect with, and you create this incredible ripple. Now, these again are the things that don't necessarily get celebrated or you don't see on, morning TV or going viral on social media. But this is really the legacy that we all leave in the energy that we leave in the world. When you leave this world and we go to a funeral, we don't you don't go to a funeral and they say, oh yeah, you should have seen the car she drove, beautiful car. Oh, she wore this great leather jacket, or, she had really long legs. They talk about who you were. They talk about the energy that you left into the world with your family, your friends, your work, your service. That's who we are. that's what we remember. That's the gift we're here to give the world.
Mm,
And I think that that's a beautiful story to really
mm,
illustrate that
yeah.
of the difference that energy can make. And of course, it happens in the negative as well as the positive.
Mm,
And often that's as a team too, that's how we find that sometimes people who didn't really fit because they were bringing negativity, when we've got a really positive culture and vibe in our team, that person won't stick around very long. They'll either change and come with the energy flow, or they will probably end up leaving. And we might go, oh, now we've got to find another staff member. Oh, no, that happened to serve you, so that you could maintain this incredible high culture energy and vibe that you've got.
mm,
So, because it's uncomfortable for somebody who's negative to sit in that vibe unless they're
absolutely.
going to change and lift
Yeah,
their own vibe.
100%. Yeah.
A great analogy for leaders, if you're talking to your staff about and trying to inspire and empower them around bringing the best of yourself to the stage and lifting your energy and leaving some of the negativity backstage, because that's what we've got to do. And I'm non-negotiable on this. I think people think I'm a little bit hard ass these days. When they sort of, well, how often, sometimes people are tired at the end of the week. Too bad.
Mm,
This is your work.
mm,
You are being paid to be here.
mm.
Imagine me going to do a speaking event and I'm always out talking to the audience beforehand. And imagine someone, saying, "How are you, Julie?" And I go, "Tired. No, I'm really tired today.
Tired,
Had
tired,
an
tired,
exhausting
tired.
week. I've had 4 events this week and God, I'm so tired." Imagine the person like, "Are you the speaker?" "Yeah, it should be fun. I sit down." No. You see, I might be tired, but that tired will have to stay backstage for the length
Yeah,
of time that I'm on stage,
yeah.
because it would not serve me and it would not serve my audience members, and I'm being paid to be there, and I would certainly not get a job recommendation from it if I brought tired to the stage. So nobody deserves that, including me. So you muscle up mentally. You tell people how you want to be, not how you are. And
Yeah.
so, you say you're great. And then before you know it, the energy catches up with you. That doesn't mean I can't be tired later on and have a therapy session with my girlfriends over a bottle of champagne, because I can do that backstage.
Yeah.
That's fine. And that's where I'll be vulnerable and authentic. But the analogy is like a stage show, and we've all got a stage show. And if you go to see a stage show, well, like Mamma Mia, I went and saw a stage show when Mamma Mia, when it first came to Australia some 17 years ago or something. Now they've got a producer that puts up the money for the show. That's the salon owner or the beauty owner or the business owner. They've then got a director, and sometimes that will be the owner as well, or they might have a manager or a leader in there. And then they say, well, we need people to make the show come alive. So they put a roll call out for actors and actresses. And then people apply and they get the job, they get the role. And the businesses are no different. So we've all got a show. And so we have our show. The director teaches the actors and actresses what they want said in this show. When you answer the phone, this is the lines that you say. And this is how you say it. I want you to put a bit more passion and enthusiasm into your voice. So practice it again for me. Now you're sounding great. That's how I want you to greet the clients at the desk, with this sort of voice. And so we practice and make sure that we're ready. So we've got to train our staff. You can't assume that they're going to do it in the way that you want it. They've got to learn the lines, and they've got to learn how to deliver the lines.
Mm.
So then we train all of that, and we do. Mamma Mia, the actors do that. They've been rehearsing for weeks. Suddenly it's opening night. The curtains open. The audience walks in. I'm in the audience for opening night, paid my money for the ticket, and they sing their hearts out. Mamma Mia, here we go again. It's passionate, it's enthusiastic, it's exciting. These shows go for years though. So what about show number 500? Do they come out and go, Mamma Mia, here we go again? Same old stuff. Does the director come onto the stage and say to the audience, I'm sorry, but the team have got some personal issues out the back and they're a little bit tired. You're not going to get a great show. We can't say to our clients, well, it's Saturday. Why do you come in on a Saturday? We go out
Mm,
Friday night.
that's
No,
right.
we've got to reinvent ourselves like it's opening night every time the curtains open,
Yeah.
because we expect that. We want the same performance at show number 200. We expect that from people we buy from, and we have a right to. And
Yeah.
our clients have the right to expect it from us.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like it's even those basic things that the first client of the day and the last client of the day. I remember one time I had a junior apprentice and they thought, I know what I'll do. I'll save some time. There's only two clients left in the salon. I'll start to turn the lights off in the
Yeah.
rooms that we're not using, and I'll just say, lift your legs up. I'm going to mop under there,
That's
and it'll
right.
save time.
Yeah.
Turn the heater off.
So the focus again is on
You know,
the physical part of the work,
yeah.
and not being aware of energetically what you're communicating to those clients that are left in the salon. Because yeah, can you imagine them starting to pack up the set of on Mamma Mia? When you're as towards the end of the show, then people going to start coming up and taking down the set, or start packing up everything.
Yeah,
So of course we
absolutely.
can see that would be totally inappropriate and it would affect our experience as part of the audience.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's exactly right. So it is an awareness. And I think that, Jay, as leaders, there seems to be an assumption that people just absorb this information, or that young people should know this, like an assumption that, we'll do the hairdressing analogy, but an assumption that they know how to sweep the hair and where to sweep it and how to use the broom properly.
Mm,
Just can't, and people go, well, they should know. Why should they know? Maybe they're not doing the sweeping at home. Maybe they haven't picked up a vacuum. I don't know. But you can't assume that they know how to walk up and look at somebody in the eye at the front desk and say, hi, welcome to the salon. We're so glad you're here today. How can I help you? Because they're busy texting. That's how they
mm,
communicate.
mm,
So you will have to get them to practice doing it. And I get a little frustrated that we understand that somebody will have to learn how to do a haircut. You don't assume a 17-year-old knows, you don't throw a pair of scissors in their hand on the third day and say, I see you excited and passionate to be a hairdresser. Here's some scissors. There's a guy. Go and see how you go.
mm.
Like, that'd be ridiculous to do that. And yet we do that with service. We do
Yes.
that. We say, look, you go and clean the shelves at the front on your first day. But we haven't taught them how to turn around, look a client in the eye and go, welcome to the salon. And so the client walks in and the girl ignores them because, the young person ignores them because she's too scared to look at them because nobody's taught her how to do it.
Mm,
So, or given her
absolutely.
permission to do it.
Yeah.
So I think that as leaders, we've got to understand too that we actually have a responsibility to empower them and train them in how to show up, how we want them to show up, what our show up expectation is,
Mm,
what energy we do expect, and are we providing an environment that supports that? How are we showing up every day? Because we're really setting the vibe, we're setting the tone, and they will be watching us, and if we don't show up, then they'll notice that, and they'll
absolutely.
use it against us. Yeah.
Yeah, I love, if you're ever talking to a salon owner and you say, let's jump onto your Google reviews and have a read.
Mm.
And it very rarely mentions hair or beauty
Yes,
or facials
that's
in the Google
right.
reviews. Like it may be one in five, and I really loved my haircut. Oh,
Yeah.
and by the way, my haircut was good.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
Right.
but it's all the other
Exactly.
stuff that they talk about. That's what
And
compelled them
again,
to leave the
and
review.
it's, yes, that's right. And again, because it's not as measurable as doing, when we do a haircut and check the haircut, we can check that and we know whether it's a good or bad haircut, and we can check a color and we can check a perm, and it feels like it's more measurable. But
Mm,
it's all of those soft skills that, as you mentioned, and all of that, which is actually, I believe, the most important. And even with
absolutely.
speaking, there are still people out there who would refer to my genre as speaking, this inspirational and empowerment, this resilience, this style of speaking as more the fluff. This isn't the fluff. This is the foundation. And
Mm,
I truly believe too that everything you just said, the reviews show it, that's the foundation. The way that you show up and the vibe, the energy that you treat clients with, the passion, the enthusiasm, that is the foundation. So if that's not right, the good haircut won't keep them coming back.
mm,
That
absolutely.
won't be the only thing that'll keep them coming
Yeah.
back.
I remember one time, Julie, I had this a client come in and I sat her down in the chair and I said, how are you? And all the rest. And she said, love the haircut. It's all good. Like, I'm happy for you to do what you want and this and that. And she kind of went like this. And she said, this bobby pin, I've been pinning up this long piece that you missed
Oh,
last time. So get that. But how are you? And oh, I'm so happy to relax. And I thought, there's people in this salon that would not get away with that.
oh,
And
that's
I
right.
always said to my team, you're better hairdressers than me.
Yeah. And
Like
I've always said the same thing. If you said
yeah.
to me, would I a fantastic hairdresser? I mean, I won hairdresser of the year with John LaCourte when I was there, and they used to have this competition every year, and I won it one year and got an overseas trip. But I did that wasn't because I was a good technically a good hairdresser. That wasn't about my craft of hairdressing. That was based on results, but those results from my relationships, from my
Mm,
service, and
mm,
from my relationships with the client, not because I was technically a fantastic hairdresser. Absolutely right.
mm.
Yes.
But I didn't normalize that. That wasn't good. Like you
No,
shouldn't have
that's
to
right.
bobby
No,
pin up a because she
no,
had a
your
bob
craft,
and it was
yes.
like
Of course, that craft has got to be great.
yeah,
But again, it's not the only thing. And
yeah.
yeah, and technically I wasn't, and I was happy to, to admit that. And I was enough, clearly I was good enough as a technical hairdresser, but it was all of the other yeah, the passion, the emotion, the showing up, the not bringing the bad energy from a bad experience in the morning to your afternoon.
Mm,
It's those things.
absolutely.
Because I think that we're too and that's what happens when you're emotionally fragile.
Mm,
That's what happens. That one negative conversation that you had, it's that arriving Monday morning and seeing the client whose hair you did on Saturday sitting there waiting for you. Well, it's probably not going to be the good conversation. I started out in a good mood. It's a 10-minute conversation. It hurt you a little bit. You felt that they were being unfair. It left you feeling bad afterwards. But so often we don't leave it there. 2 hours later, somebody else is out the back and you say, oh, did you hear who was here this morning? Did you see what happened? Well, I came in such a good mood and she put me in such a bad mood. I've been upset ever since. 2 hours later, you're still upset talking to someone else or telling another client about it. So you've dragged that 10 minutes through your whole day and it's affected your service with every other person. It's affected your energy and your ability to serve from the stage that day. And then we take it home as well. And then we might Facebook about it. And then we keep it going and we say, I had such a bad day. We didn't have a bad day. We had a challenging 10-minute conversation that hurt a little bit. But this is called living and you're right on track. Did you ever think you would get through your whole career without any negativity? And so you dragged it through your whole day and you don't have to do that. And so I feel like, again, nobody's told us that you didn't have to drag it through. I could have gone and said, Jay, I just had that client come in. She wasn't happy. I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed. Can I just debrief with you, please? Debrief, and then you shake it off and you know that this is part of life. You are not wrong. We are always going to have some negativity sometimes
mm,
because this is just the way it is.
mm.
And then you reset, sing a little song, my sparkle is alive, my energy is high, and you reframe and get your energy up so that your next client gets the best of you, and then you have a lovely day because that's what you deserve to. So yeah,
I think
it's
that one of the best pieces of advice that I had from Lisa Conway. That's how
yes,
I started coaching. She was my very first coach. She
yes.
had her work cut out for her, but it was a success story, so that's good. She wrote about this in her first book,
Yes,
The Naked Salon. That you write SS on a post-it note, which stands for shit shaver, and you slap that post-it note above the door that everyone walks into at the salon in the morning and walks out of the evening. And
yes,
if someone's dragging their tits into the salon in the morning and they've got that bad energy and, face like a slapped ass, then you say, this shit shaver door, this magic force field must be bugging. And you give it a
yeah,
whack and you go, oh, now it's on. Pull them in and out of it and go, now, is that shit
yeah,
being
fabulous.
shaved off
That's
you or
fabulous.
not?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
look, it's nice because you're basically saying, hey, you've turned up like shit, but
That's
using a
right.
bit of
It's just
humor.
a way to do it with, yeah,
Yeah.
that's exactly right.
And
Without
it shaves the
having
shit off you so you don't take it
That's
home to your
right.
husband or,
Wonderful. So it's this physical reminder. It's that
yeah.
little rejigging your thoughts a little bit about that, finding a little bit of laughter and joy in amongst it, which immediately lifts the energy, and reminding ourselves not to take ourselves that seriously. And it's something we've all had to learn. I mean, when I started doing this, Jay, I'd present to an audience, say of 100 people, and I'd give feedback forms and I'd get 2 feedback forms that were, slightly negative and 98 positive. And I used to, get myself all worked up about 2.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to let the two go.
Yeah.
Why have we become so fixated on trying to convince everybody to like us all the time?
Mm,
Not everybody is going to get us all the time.
mm,
And that's okay. It doesn't mean we don't take feedback. It doesn't mean we don't learn from our feedback. But you don't whip yourself, and beat yourself up
mm.
over it. So I had to learn to let, and even if I got 30, 70, I'm still winning if I've got
Yeah.
70 that still like me. And it doesn't actually make any sense for me to change what I'm doing to suit the ones that didn't, because I've got enough that did.
Yeah.
So, and we see it, and, of course, social media just magnifies it. We see that when, somebody gets one negative comment on a post, they might have 20 positive comments, but there's that one negative that they then talk about, that they then post more about, they then get fixated on. Let it go.
Yeah.
Life's too short. We're not getting out of here alive.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Why are we letting people steal our energy all the time, and people steal our joy and our love and our passion and excitement?
Mm.
We're worth more than that.
Absolutely. I think that a lot of your stories, lessons, learnings, analogies are airport based. So I think maybe that's the practical advice today is you need to travel more and learn these
Yeah.
because look, I think I'm more sensitive at an airport.
Yeah,
I'm heightened at an airport, like the lady that's
absolutely.
carrying her pillow. You want to knock her over and go, "Why are you traveling with your pillow from
Yeah.
home?" You know. So,
I think what you're doing, bringing your comfort zone with you.
and the energy of the lady or the man that stands behind those trays that you got to put things in,
Oh,
and
I
they
know.
they they change their mind every day of
Yeah.
leave your laptop in, take
I
your laptop out.
know. I know.
So
We're
it's
on
just
high
like,
alert. And then have
oh.
I got to take my necklace off, or is this one going to swing around the back, or is my jacket got to come off or on? Oh my gosh, I'm just wearing this little tiny top under my jacket. I don't really want to take my jacket. I know it is.
Yeah.
It's absolutely all along the way. You are so right. You are so right. And
Uh,
also, yeah, go and light your world up and have a travel experience. There's nothing better than that. That's for sure.
100%. Absolutely. Well, as I was only watching this morning, those little skits of Magda Zabansky and Jane Turner on fast forward or full
Oh,
frontal. I can never
yeah.
remember which one's which, and it's Lynn that's in the rainbow thing smoking, and they're always having negative conversations.
Yeah.
Tired, tired,
Yeah,
tired,
that's right.
tired. And the friend that I just got off the phone to that I called this morning to have a chin wag, we always go, oh, tired, tired,
Yeah,
tired,
yeah, yeah.
and have a whinge and a complaint. It's fun. Uh, but I was trying to remember this morning what they say at the end of every conversation, and it's like, you're a joy and a cheer, or
Yes.
something. You're a joy and a cheer, Lynn. But I do want to say, you are a joy and a cheer.
Oh, thank you, Jenny. And so are you. And it's so
So,
lovely to share with like-minded people that have a similar philosophy and energy, and that we share that in this space, this wonderful space that we're in. So thank you.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Alrighty. I feel great. I'm going to clear my day now and just do nothing, I think. And cartwheel down the street like a maniac.
Absolutely. In sequence.
Oh, that's right. In sequence, absolutely.
Oh, it's been great.
Well, click the link in the bio, follow Julie on socials, go to her website, you scroll back to 1972 and make sure that you follow and like and subscribe and leave the reviews on the podcast, not the negative ones, please. I'll stew on it for a month. Uh, thanks for listening and thank you, Julie.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.